Hello everyone, this is kind of our brief video. We're going to be talking about some of the questions that we got about the new system and what's happening with the future of FPL. We have all the founders here, though some are working because they actually have lives, so not all are going to be speaking. It's going to be, yep, we got the good three. We got the main three on right now, really. That's what we need. That's what we need. So I'm gonna start us off. I'm just gonna ask, common questions that we've been getting, and then we're gonna give some more details about it. So the first question is, all right, captain-based format. Does this mean franchises are completely kicked from any involvement? All right, so no, franchises are not completely kicked from any involvement, but franchises have to select a player to represent their franchise. So this player has to play on the team. So they can still work with this player behind the scenes. They can still work with them when it comes to draft, when it comes to trades, when it comes to, the off season, and they can still have major influence on what the player does. Um, but at the end of the day, we want the captain or the player that they're representing to be the one to make the final decisions. So like if they're gonna make a trade, the captain has to be the one that submits it, or if they're gonna make an off-season move, the captain has to be the one to submit it. Um, we think that we've seen through multiple different splits of different franchise leagues that if a manager is a player, it kind of shows a different level of commitment because they're actually putting in their time as well. So I think that's a big reason why we're kind of going to this. And then another reason would be that sooner or later, if franchises come and go, they have their own different agendas, whatever they have to do. Sooner or later, we're gonna run out of good franchises, but I think we'll always have a decent player base. So
Yep. This gives us as admins the ability to be flexible, to have some like individuals can throw their hat in the ring. We just can't. We're not going to be able to forever be rely on only orgs, or it didn't seem likely, especially with even one or two orgs dropping per split. You're eventually going to have sister teams or get low quality orgs in there, and we don't want to be kind of limited to that. We'd rather be able to majority have orgs. Hopefully, I mean, we would hope to retain as many of our org owners as possible that think they can make this format work, but um, we have to have that flexibility for long term strategic implementation.
for sure, yeah, we definitely value like the infrastructure orgs provide. I mean, even not even just to their teams, right? Like even to FPL, like we're grateful. Like a lot of orgs will put out, recruitment post, recruiting for FPL. Like we still are grateful for like all of our orgs. I might have come off a little aggressive in the admin chat. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. All right, you guys made me like you're like everyone was confused. So I was trying to. I thought I was being nice, but I wasn't. So yeah, Rutledge, you can go over the second point if you want to.
Yeah. Um, so our main goal is to give captains the incentive to give the best effort they can. That's partially why we're making this change as well. Because I mean, if you're a captain, you have to play on the team every week, so you don't want to play on a miserable experience. So it's ideally going to give all players the best experience possible as well. So we're going to give a couple ways that captains have a way of peace of mind that they're trying their best, or players will have a peace of mind that captains are trying their best. We're going to implement a relegation system. So the bottom two teams, like the first two out of Gauntlet in those first two matches, will no longer be able to be captains next split. That just means those are two individuals that are representation. So like if an org like TFF or XSV or something had their captain get relegated, that doesn't mean necessarily the org couldn't still have the slot. It would have to be a new captain in charge of running the slot. So this was got a little bit of potentially extra content and fun at the end of the split, but also gets the ability for new players to come in and be captains instead of just the same people that maybe aren't doing as great of a job, but aren't causing us problems. But now we'll kind of constantly have that kind of incentive of you don't want to be the bottom two.
Yeah, it's also only
Um,
one split. That's like
yeah.
that's the biggest wording. We know that sometimes, you draft players and then they don't play, and then all of a sudden your team is bad and you didn't really have any control over it. So it's only one split. We just really want to get like nice fresh faces continuing to flow in and out.
Yep. And then we're going to reward loyal and reliable captains, so the ones that aren't causing us problems or having issues. They will get a reduced entry fee per split that they come back. So they will be able to reduce it all the way down to our idea is like, oh, 50 is like was the initial, but maybe it's going to be 25 for this initial split, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. But it will reduce by 10 for the next split, and then 5 this following split. So it can go all the way down to like a low amount. Um, so it kind of gives them further incentive to stick around. And we want, obviously, the biggest priority is just getting reliable and quality captains. Captains will also receive their own public channel to update, or we will be doing content in like our Hall of Fame for captains on like, oh, what's their all-time record? There's like on their drafting stats or something of how many points they spent, kind of giving them draft grades, etc. We'll think of a lot of fun content for captains to have extra incentive to want to be in that role because they're going to be a pretty big part of the league moving forward.
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like we're using it both as like a form of accountability to get exposed if you're a terrible captain, as well as like good content. And honestly, if you're a good captain, it's going to be like rewarding. It's going to be an incentive to do it. So that's a big reason.
Yep.
Uh, and then what incentives do captains have that justify higher entry fee? So we understand that the entry fee is high for an individual player compared to an org. And we'll talk about the entry fee at the very end. But we wanted to make sure that players felt like they're being compensated and that they're being incentivized to put in this work and to actually pay this entry fee. And like be very clear, the biggest reason for this entry fee is an accountability thing. The more money somebody puts into something, the more likely that you're going to do it. I've talked about this on a different town hall before, where they did a study with gym memberships, where if people had a $10 gym membership versus a $100 a month gym membership, they see the people that had a $100 a month are more likely to be going to the gym, right? Because they have a larger commitment um, to that establishment. So I'm going to go over a couple of them. Some of them are just going to be the exact same thing that the managers have. So number one, captains get full control over their team slot when it comes to drafting, trades, and free agency. So even if you do have an org that is, you're working with or sponsoring you or whatever that agreement is, if that org is like, hey, like we got to get rid of this player, and you don't want to get rid of the player, the captain has the last say in these kind of things, and the captain will be the one to submit those kind of things. Two, captains will have their own individual prize pool. So we're not going to just make you put in this entry fee for nothing and then take it. We're going to give that entry fee back. So right now the managers have their own prize pool, and the manager prize pool is way less taxed than the player prize pool. So it's going to be like a much larger prize pool. I think it's going to be like around like 300 for one individual person at the end of the split, but things might adjust as entry fees adjust. So no promises on that one. Number three, captains will take over the manager voting slot. So this also kind of secondary effect would mean that the player voting slots you're no longer going to get two per team. You're only going to get one for the player voting slot because you already have your captain on one side. But the captains will take over that government body. And then these last three are really the new things that we're going to be kind of implementing in order to incentivize captains even more. All right, number four, town halls will be captain exclusive, meaning that captain suggestions and feedback will be prioritized so that they can have a larger impact on the future of the league. So this doesn't mean that like we're gonna gatekeep the town hall videos, but like when it comes to the town hall chat and when it comes to the tickets beforehand, when we're reading out these suggestions or problems, captains are going to be really the number one people that we're looking at for these. So the captains are definitely going to be prioritized and they're going to be focused on specifically. What number are we on? Five. Captains will have more Discord permissions. So we're trying to implement something that we can do for captains in Discord. So these are a couple of the administrative powers that we're going to grant captains. This is kind of a teaser, but they will have the administrative powers for the in-house bots. Captains will be in-house admins. They'll be able to update their, player roles. They'll be able to choose their team's logo. That means both on Discord and on the sheets, of course. Choose their team name, of course, and choose their team Discord color. Those are really the big ones that we think of off the top of our head. But
Yeah,
as we
there
go
may
on,
be yeah, there may be more. Like
yeah,
those are our initial like oh no doubters kind of
yeah,
situation. If we can think of ways to further incorporate captains, I mean, again, we're gonna try to make this a because especially because they're going to be playing in the league as well. We really want these people to care and to have a say, and because they're going to be a big identifier if the league's going to be having a good time, like if players on their team are and all that jazz. So we'll even come up with more potentially, but as right now, yeah, those are what we have off the top of our heads, like Jake said.
Yeah, and then the very last one is kind of the most fun one that we think it is, which is captains are going to kind of have priority when it comes to content pieces. So there's going to be specific content about the captains. We brushed on that earlier, but as well as when it comes to the future of Lions Den or Outside Perspective or any other future kind of interview-esque, podcast-esque form of content, captains will get first choice. We'll actually be probably reaching out to the captains to try to negotiate a time with them in order to bring them on. Because captains aren't just gonna be players in the league; they're really gonna be pillars. They're gonna be representatives of like what we're trying to do. The ultimate goal of FPL, which is to integrate the community into everything. So that would be fun. Rutledge, you want to talk about the entry fee a little bit?
Yeah, so we talked about it, and we definitely still want the commitment to be above the entry fee for players. Um, we are going to implement a kind of pilot season with this new change, as because it'll also kind of we want the barrier for good captains to be as low as possible, especially initially, so they can kind of experience and see the value that they'll be getting with a higher entry cost for themselves. So we will be reducing the entry fee to $25 so we'll half it from what our initial expectation was for the first split for captains. Now this will definitely be a first split only thing, and so take advantage of it in the first season. And then you can see it won't just be an extra job. It'll be all this other stuff we're going to add value to make it something you're going to desire to do. And again, the prize pool will still be higher, and it'll still be juiced for the captains to have extra incentive financially. We're just trying to make everything aligned to drive captains to care more than the average player, and kind
Yeah.
of have buy-in to the league.
Yeah, we just want to give more people the opportunity to be a captain. So like, even though the buy-in is gonna, did we say the price yet or no?
Yeah, $25.
All right,
Yeah.
20. So I was zoned out when you talk. Even though the buy-in's gonna be half of what is initially planned, the founders are still committed to the league. We're still gonna keep the prize pool as if it was the full price. And then another thing about this, why it's so important to kind of jump on it ahead of time, is we're also going to treat it as a normal season. Going into next split, if you are a captain that finishes within the top 10, you will get a discounted rate. That is still going to happen. You won't be paying the full price as a brand new captain applying for split 4. So that's our main things that we really wanted to address. There's a lot more stuff we got to talk about in the future. We're just going to take it chunk by chunk right now. Um,
We'll
just
have a rule book kind of overhaul. We're gonna go line by line through it. That's just gonna take a little bit more time for us to do but we're just more trying to get the kind of structural foundational stuff out to you guys. One for feedback, and two so we can kind of start getting those forms out. We can start getting submissions, getting people in place. Because that stuff we need to do sooner than later. The rule book can obviously be constantly worked on and changed over the course of the off season.
Yep, 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 and that would go into the government body system as well, and we just want to get a little bit more specific into the rule book. That's a big thing. As well as stay tuned in the off season. Don't mute the server. We're gonna be having events. We're gonna be having game nights. And potentially some in houses. We're talking about those. We're gonna see what's going on with that.
There'll be announcements for all this stuff. We're
There will
gonna
be
have lots of stuff
announcements.
going on in the
Stay
Discord.
tuned. Stay in tune. You're gonna get a lot of everyone's. You might get a lot of red
Deal with it.
notifications. Yeah, it just is. It is what it is, folks. It is what it is. But yeah, does our other lovely founders have anything else to say? I'll unmute Jay. Just nope, he has nothing to say. All right, he's working, so
Yeah,
we're
Jay
just
said
happy for
fuck
his
that, bro.
presence. Yeah, we're just happy for
Yeah,
their
yeah.
presence.
Yeah,
You
but
can hear my beautiful voice while driving.
and one last message to the current managers: work with find if you don't want to, if you guys don't already currently aren't a player that's already playing or have a player in mind immediately. Work with somebody and set up a deal that makes sense to you guys. Look, because we can't actively enforce like if TFF wants to manage the draft, but they want to leave most of the other stuff in captain's hands. That's fine. Like as long as the captain's still held accountable for what's going on with the spot, we're not going to penny pinch those kind of like insider deals or whatever you guys decide, right? Because especially some of you managers did a great job, and manager slots great. That wasn't the problem. It's more that strategic long term, as well as replacing the kind of drops with maybe like not super high quality orgs anyway. Is probably going to end up with a negative result. So we don't want we want to retain as many of you guys as possible because a lot of you guys did a great job. But just kind of help adapt to this system because I think it really, at the end of the day, should not be a super big negative for you guys. If anything, it's just going to require even less work from you guys in the long run, and you guys can just do the parts that you think are fun.
Yeah, 100%. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for potential name updates since franchise Premier League doesn't make sense anymore. We're gonna come up with our favorite names and we're gonna put it out as a vote for the community, so the community will be able to vote on what they think the future league should be called. For me, the number one thing is it has to flow off the tongue. Like FPL, that kind of flows off the tongue. Like I need an acronym that flows off the tongue. That's all I care about. But all
We'll
right,
be
well,
dropping probably a poll or something. So.
yeah. All right, we'll see you guys. Bye.